The following content this episode is owned by Best Galaxy Australian Studios. Re-uploading episode for without permission will be strongly prohibited.
News is the finally next on Best Galaxy Australian Breaking News, Thursday, 18 of May, 2023.
Good evening, welcome to the Best Galaxy Australian Breaking News. My name is Galaxy Australian Guy. News 1, an affordable version of a groundbreaking HIV prevention drug will be made in South Africa for the first time, potentially giving millions of people at risk of HIV infection in Africa access to a 2-monthly jab that can almost eliminate their chances of contracting the virus. The Indian drug company Cipla confirmed that a generic version of the prophylaxis, long-acting cabotegravir, Cab-LA, would be manufactured at its plants in Benoni, near Johannesburg, or Durban. Cabotegravir blocks HIV from entering a person's cells. Studies have shown that it reduces to almost zero an individual's chances of getting infected with the virus through sex. As it is easier to take regularly, Cab-LA has also been found to work better than a daily HIV prevention pill, which is available for free in South Africa and several other African countries. News 2, for many Belgians, the Cinquantenaire Park in Brussels evokes memories of childhood visits to see the stuffed horses of the Military History Museum, or vintage cars at Auto World, two institutions on the edge of the park. The much-loved green spaces, cheerful flowers and whimsical follies contrast with the steel canyons and beeping traffic of the adjacent EU Quarter. But above all it is an expression of national pride, with a giant Belgian tricolour often suspended underneath a massive triumphal arch built in 1880 to mark 50 years of the Belgian state. Belgium's federal government last month launched a redevelopment plan for the 200th anniversary in 2030. Yet often overlooked are the traces of Belgium's former colonial empire, embodied in monuments including the arch. At a recent public meeting to announce the 2030 master plan, none of the dignitaries, including 5 Belgian government ministers, 1 EU commissioner and a minister-president of the Brussels capital region, mentioned its heritage.
European powers must stand by pro-democracy Tunisians resisting a fierce onslaught designed to take the country back to the darkest days of dictatorship, a letter from more than 70 academics has urged. The letter, designed to shine a light on the Tunisian crackdown, was in part collated by Soumaïa Ghannouchi, whose father, the Tunisian opposition leader, Rached Ghannouchi, was sentenced to a year in jail on Monday. Okay guys, it's time to commercial break, we'll be right back.
To have a Whopper could unite the nation. No matter if you like Impossible or double bacon, we can agree there's a Whopper for you. 200,000 ways, boom, there's the proof.
BK, have it your way.
Dito na tayo sa JA, kung saan lahat ay okay. Sa JA, lahat dito ay super mura. Lahat mga maganda dito sa JA. Sa JA, napatunayan na ng bayan, wala namang iba. Quality shopping ang aming dala. Mapapa-JA talaga kayo. Ang supermarket namin ay JA.
Have you or a loved one ever needed something just to feel better? Just something to refresh your mind and body? To take time away from all the troubles in life? Introducing Bloxycola, the all-new best way to feel refreshed. It's high in vitamin A, C, D, K, B1, B5, and all those fancy terms. Just look at how refreshed this new bloke drinks it.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Get your Bloxycola today at your nearest Bloxmart and feel refreshed today. Bloxycola, the best way to feel refreshed. Right next to Rich's Blue. Nobody talks about that.
News 4. There was confusion over whether 4 children from an indigenous community in Colombia had been found alive following a plane crash, after claims from the country's president that they had been located were contradicted by military sources. The children have been missing for more than 2 weeks after the plane they were traveling in crashed in the dense jungle of Colombia's Caqueta province, President Gustavo Petro has said. The plane a Cessna 206 was carrying 7 people between Araraquara, in Amazonas province, and San Jose del Guaviare, a city in Guaviare province, when it issued a Mayday alert due to engine failure in the early hours of the 1st of May. News 5. A ruling from Guyana's High Court could change the face of offshore oil drilling throughout the Caribbean, according to financial and legal analysts. The ruling ordered the country's Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to require an independent liability insurance policy from Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited, EEPGL, and an unlimited guarantee from its parent company, ExxonMobil, in the case of any damage caused by the company's oil and gas development in the country. ExxonMobil Guyana and our Stabroek Block co-venturers have adequate and appropriate insurance and proposed guarantees in an amount that exceeds industry precedents and an estimate of potential liability, Exxon said in a statement. News 6. Ukraine's foreign minister has met China's special envoy to Kiev and insisted that the war-torn country would not accept a peace plan that relied on giving up territory after Russia's invasion. In the Ukrainian capital, China's envoy Li Hui is seeking to promote Beijing-led negotiations to resolve the conflict. He is the most senior Chinese diplomat to visit Ukraine since Russia invaded in February 2022. China, a close ally of Moscow, has not publicly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, whose foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba said that peace depended on respect of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. In his meeting with Li, Kuleba emphasized that Ukraine does not accept any proposals that would involve the loss of its territories or the freezing of the conflict, his ministry said. News 7. Service was temporarily halted on one of Mexico City's metro system this week after a chicken got loose on the tracks. Video posted by the metro on Tuesday showed maintenance personnel and civil defense officers in hard hats chasing the errant fowl around the tracks with brooms, gloves and a trash bag. The chicken eluded several attempts to capture it before one worker tossed his coat over the animal, and the metro system said service was quickly restored after the incident on Monday. Okay guys, it's time to commercial break part 2. We'll be right back.
All the ways to have a Whopper could unite the nation. No matter if you like impossible or double bacon, we can agree there's a Whopper for you. 200,000 ways, boom, there's the proof.
BK, have it your way.
Dito na tayo sa Jer-A, kung saan lahat ay okay. Sa Jer-A, lahat dito ay super mura. Lahat mga magandang ganito sa Tue-Thu. Sa Tue-Thu, napatunayan na ng bayan, wala namang iba. Quality shopping ang aming dala. Mapapa-Tue-Thu talaga kayo. Ang supermarket namin ay Tue-Thu.
Have you or a loved one ever needed something just to feel better? Just something to refresh your mind and body? To take time away from all the troubles in life? Introducing BestGalaxyAustralian, the all-new best way to feel refreshed. It's high in vitamin A, C, D, K, B1, B5, and all those fancy terms. Just look at how refreshed this new bloke when he drinks it.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Get your Bloxycold today at your nearest Bloxmart and feel refreshed today. Bloxycold, the best way to feel refreshed. Right next to which is nobody talks about that.
We're back for the Best Galaxy Australian breaking news. Let's move on Australian news. Australian News 1, the Chinese ambassador, Xiao Qian, announced that starting today China will resume import of Australian timber. The ambassador also expressed personal sympathy for Chen Lei, an Australian journalist in prison awaiting trial for alleged national security charges in China. The South Australian government has flagged that the government will pass anti-protest laws as Extinction Rebellion protesters enter their fifth day of action against an oil and gas industry conference in Adelaide. The unemployment rate edged higher to 3.7%, easing RBA rate rise concerns. ACT's Director of Public Prosecutions, Shane Drumgold, is on leave as an inquiry into the handling of a case against the former Liberal staff Bruce Lehrmann continues. Melbourne mayors met today to discuss the rising risk to councillors and staff from far-right fringe groups. The independent Sydney MP Alex Greenwich launched defamation proceedings against the New South Wales One Nation leader, Mark Latham, over a homophobic tweet he posted in March. The Greens called on Labor to regulate plastic packaging. The CEO of National Australia Bank, Ross McEwen, said he's still predicting another 1 or 2 rate rises from the RBA. The federal government has lodged the official help repayment thresholds for 2023 to 24, with the minimum repayment threshold lifting marginally by $3,189. The AFL and Rugby Australia announced their support for the voice to Parliament. An open letter, signed by the former Labor ministers Peter Garrett and Carmen Lawrence, calls for an urgent parliamentary inquiry into the AUKUS nuclear-powered submarine plan. Western Australia's Department of Fire and Emergency Services issued an emergency bushfire warning for parts of Whitby. North Melbourne AFL senior coach Alistair Clarkson stepped away from the role, effective immediately, to focus on his physical and emotional well-being, the club says. Police are investigating an incident after a man died at Melbourne train station. Australian News 2, the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has led the tributes to Yolu leader Yunuping at a public memorial in remote northeast Arnhem Land on Thursday, describing the revered elder as an extraordinary Australian, who understood if you want to make your voice count you have to make sure that it is heard. Albanese travelled to Yunuping's homeland of Goonyangara to deliver what he called a eulogy for a giant. The service was also attended by the Minister for Indigenous Australians, Linda Burney. Okay, now it's time to last commercial. We'll be right back.
All the ways to have a Whopper could unite the nation. No matter if you like Impossible or double bacon, we can agree there's a Whopper for you. 200,000 ways, boom, there's the proof.
BK, have it your way.
Dito na tayo sa Jer-A, kung saan lahat ay okay. Sa Jer-A, lahat dito ay super mura. Lahat mga maganda dito sa Dear A. Sa Dear A, napatunayan na ng bayan, wala namang iba. Quality shopping ang aming dala. Mapapa-Dear A talaga kayo. Ang supermarket namin ay Dear A. Ooh.
Okay guys, it's full time for Best Galaxy Australian breaking. We set time milliseconds. Australian News 3, global heating has likely intensified a climate pattern in the Pacific since the 1960s that has driven extreme droughts, floods and heat waves around the globe, according to a new study. The scientists said they had shown for the first time that greenhouse gas emissions were likely already making El Niños and La Niñas more severe. The shifts in ocean temperatures and atmospheric conditions in the Pacific, known as the El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO, affect weather patterns around the globe, threatening food supplies, spreading disease and impacting societies and ecosystems. Sunset over Sydney as bushfire smoke turns the sky red in Australia. Sydney, Australia, January 4th, the sun sets after another scorching day as bushfire smoke hangs over the City and Harbour Bridge on January 4, 2020 in Sydney, Australia. Multiple bushfires still burn across the country as thousands are evacuated from coastal towns and homes are burned to the ground across many regions of the country. Photo by James D. Morgan, Getty Images. El Niño extremely likely to impact Australian summer. Scientists have struggled to work out if adding greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, trapping enormous amounts of heat in the ocean, has already changed ENSO. But because the system has natural swings spanning decades and actual observations have been too sparse, the scientists looked instead at more than 40 models of the climate, analyzed in several ways. Dr. Wenju Cai, lead author of the study from Australia's CSIRO Science Agency, said the models showed a human fingerprint from 1960 onwards. This meant climate change had likely made both Okay guys, thanks for watching Best Galaxy Australian breaking news. I will see you tomorrow from Weekend Friday during Vajaga's season finale. Well, see you next week.